Hello, I'm Kendra Ann Sherrill. I'm the Production Services Coordinator for Washington Filmworks, and I'm here today with Luce, Akemi, and Meg, and we are going to be chatting about working on set during this new era of COVID. For those of you who don't know, Washington's film industry does have the green light to go back to work, and productions can film in a county that is phase 2 or above if they follow the set safety guidance that has been issued by the governor's office. I do have a slight update on the governor's guidance, specifically for hair and makeup, which is some of the departments we're going to be chatting a little bit more today. Hair and makeup departments have to follow the governor's personal services protocols, and those were updated recently to say that customers must be masked at all times, which of course can be difficult regarding film production if we need to be applying makeup on talent. And so we just wanted to let everyone know that that is an update that recently happened. We are working on talking with the governor's office to discuss how this new edition is going to work with the film industry and what can be done about it. So I just wanted to throw that out there as a slight update. But I'm very excited to jump into this conversation with you all to see how experiences have been working on sets recently. So to start off, if you could just each introduce yourselves and what you do in the film industry, that would be great. Let's start with Luce.
I'm Luce Cousineau, and I'm a makeup artist.
And Akemi.
Hi, I'm Akemi Nakashima, and I do hair and makeup styling.
And Meg.
Hi, I'm Meg Schmitt, and I do wardrobe and costume.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys so much for being here with me today. I'm excited to pick your brains and see how it's been going on set for everyone. I'm just going to jump right in. So my first question is, since you all in your specific departments work so closely with talent, I'm curious what your new normal looks like right now, you know, for getting the job done, but also being safe.
I would like to start. I feel for myself that a lot of sanitation is something that has been always standard for my industry. For hair and makeup, and that maybe it's just a wake-up call to really actually follow what we were taught to do as licensed people in this industry. And I am now finding that I'm setting up maybe my set kit to go on set and do touch-ups differently, and that it's just taking a little bit more time, and I'm having to make sure that production isn't pushing me. Like, I think that they think that I need more setup time to clean my area, to put up my kit, but they're not necessarily thinking about, oh, I need time to now put my kit together to go to set. I need a space, I need to have time to step onto set and to step away from set. And that just takes a couple extra minutes. And I don't know that they really recognize that yet.
I'm happy to jump in and dovetail a little bit on that. I would agree that my workflow in terms of how I'm taking care of my tools and my makeup and the actors hasn't really changed. I was always really good about keeping my kit sanitary and cleaning things as I go along. I definitely have become more aware of my surroundings, what perhaps can be impacted by people breathing. The simple act of just turning my actor's chair away from my setup has just made things a little bit easier. I definitely spend more time in negotiations with producers when they talk to me. I talk about time, I talk about setup, and I don't say, oh, we'll figure out where you're going to go on the day. I don't kind of accept that anymore, because I need to know where I'm going to land when I get there and what that's going to look like so I can change it if it's not good for me. There's no more, oh, we'll get you set up at a table in a bar. There's no more, oh, we'll get you set up in the bathroom. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm definitely negotiating more about the amount of time I need kind of throughout the process, and also whether or not producers want me on set or do they want me off set, and what does that look like in terms of who's monitoring the, you know, skin and hair of the talent.
Meg, what about your world?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely wearing a lot of PPE, gloves, a face mask, of course, and also a shield. The gloves are key because I'm touching items that are going to be worn by actors. And in order to wear gloves properly, I definitely recommend doing some research about donning them, doffing them, what a contaminating action is. You have to change your gloves really quite often to be safe. So if I have 10 actors, I have to change gloves between each actor. And so far I haven't really been giving the time that I need in between contaminating actions to be changing my gloves. I've definitely experienced something that I'm sure Akemi and Luce have also experienced, where I'm like being rushed on set in the same ways that I was before COVID. But I can't be safe when I'm being rushed. So that's definitely something that I've experienced that has been a challenge for me. I'm also wrapping everything in plastic in one way or another, because as we know, there's no way for me to sanitize a sweatshirt on set unless someone wants to give me a washer and a dryer. So things have to be quarantined. I'm prepping with more lead time before the job actually starts. So I'm making sure that my wardrobe that I'm bringing to set is all wrapped in plastic, even right down to like a pair of shoes being stored inside a Ziploc bag, which I wasn't really doing before, but now every single pair of shoes is being wrapped in a Ziploc bag. I'm using more garment bags, so my kit has grown. I'm using more, sadly, disposable items. And also, I recommend, reusing items when you can with a quarantine period. Like if I quarantine a pair of shoes with a Ziploc bag, it doesn't mean that Ziploc bag is dead forever. It just means that I have to quarantine that Ziploc bag for a few days before I use it again for something else. So there's definitely like a quarantine system happening. So yeah, I'm also kind of how Luce was saying about negotiating with producers a little bit harder. I'm definitely doing that a little bit more. Kind of touching on what Luce said about a bathroom. I'm not allowing actors to just change in the shared restroom anymore. That's not a thing. I'm using portable changing tents, one for each actor, so that each tent can belong to that actor for the duration of the job, and it has that person's name on it and they don't share it. So yeah, things do look really different. I think that I would be concerned if things didn't look different in 2020.
So Luce and Akemi, like, Meg kind of talked about her system with Ziplocs and everything. Like, have you guys figured out a system with your tools, like your brush? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but have you figured out a really easy way to sanitize, like a system, like anything you want to share in that regard?
I thought I came up with a brand new thing. And then I was so excited to show Luce, and she's like, oh, you mean these containers that I've always been using? It's one of those things that hair makeup doesn't necessarily work together regularly, that we get a chance to see how somebody else does something. So we are kind of on our own, developing new techniques, new situations. My exciting one was that I found pencil boxes for back to school, and I have used those every day. I'm so excited about them. There's a small back section that I've been able to put brushes that I've used on that talent. And then there's enough room in it that I'm able to then put small pods for their makeup that I can take onto set. And since it's a hard case, it keeps it contained. I don't feel like I have a worry of contamination in my set bag, and it's also easy for me to hold. There's a lot more products that I'm taking to set now because actors are taking on and off the mask, and the skin is changing. But I'm kind of liking my new setup. It's exciting. I'm using every single brush that I never used to use, that I've bought over the years, going, oh, this one looks cute, and I've not used them, so now I'm using them all, and coming home, and I just have a big giant pile, and I do a big giant wash day.
And I think what's changed for me is when I'm home, I'm using the same system. I'm just consolidating it a little bit more. I'm using boxes that have, basically the small amounts of like concealer and foundation and blush or lipstick or anything that I might need to touch up that talent in that day, along with their brushes in one box. In terms of like PPE, I'm wearing a mask and a shield most of the time. That it's hot and uncomfortable. willing to do it. Makeup artists don't generally wear gloves unless we're dealing with blood or grease or something that is too transferable, or some type of chemical that we need to keep ourselves safe from as well. But washing and hand sanitizing, like, constant, just constant.
So regarding pre-production in this new world, how has that been different for you?
We don't have fittings anymore. I started doing really in-depth phone calls via FaceTime or Zoom with actors ahead of time, trying to ask them the right sets of questions, very specific questions about their fitting, about the way their clothes fit, about fitting challenges they tend to have. Different people with different types of body types have different fitting challenges. Like, your legs are really long, you need a longer inseam. Like, people who know about their body type and know about what works for them, actors who know those things are, they make my job really easy. Some talent that I've worked with, they're actually not actors, they're regular people, and they don't know really how to answer those questions for me. So that has been really challenging. So thus far, I haven't had any fittings ahead of time. I've really just been contacting actors ahead of time, using FaceTime and Zoom as a way to see what's in their closet. That can be like my first line of action. Obviously, creative direction can stand in the way of that. Like, if I need to make someone a dinosaur costume, they're not going to have anything in their closet that's going to help me with that. So it just kind of depends on creative direction, but wherever possible, I am using actors' own wardrobe, and I'm asking them to already have it on when they arrive to set too.
I think there's always a little bit that we can do. I always try to communicate my needs based on what the creative direction is, but there are definitely things that will get lost in translation. So you always need to come prepared to do whatever is necessary. I mean, any good makeup artist always has blood, sweat, tears, and, and grime with them. That doesn't mean you're ever going to use it, but you never want to get caught dead, you can't be caught dead without it. So there's that. However, everything happens. I gave very specific details. I asked to speak to the talent in person sometimes, but sometimes they're, that's kind of not allowed, or it's best for me to just communicate my needs. And I will do so and help a producer or a director communicate what exactly I mean. And then they show up on set, and what is meant to be a 10-minute just brush off is 35 minutes, if not longer, because someone's been in quarantine for 4 months and has really not been taking care of themselves, So it's like, you may want a natural makeup, but they still need to be natural for camera. And that's the difference. In a perfect world, we are so prepared before we even get there that we're doing less. In our COVID-19 world, if makeup artists aren't necessarily allowed to do as much touching, then those folks need to come with their foundation on and with their own lipsticks. Now, not every talent has what they need to do the thing that creative needs.
So have you guys had an experience working with COVID supervisors on set, and how's that experience been?
I have, yes, I've had multiple times working with COVID supervisors. Sometimes it's a PA, sometimes it's a producer. In the perfect world, what I would see a COVID supervisor as, based off of the title, is somebody that is ridiculously informed and that they have so much knowledge on all of the sanitation, safety, and a realistic idea of how our industry works. I don't understand what their position is. So yeah, I think that that's another area that needs a lot of refining.
Yeah, I had a few experiences with COVID safety officers, and each experience was very different. So it seems that not only do productions not understand what the job should be, I don't think the COVID safety officers understand what their job should be either. I have seen it be a PA. I've seen it be also the producer, which I don't think is right, because producers have their own job and there's no way to cut corners there. You can't cut corners when it comes to safety. I wish I saw the COVID safety officer doing time and time again that I have not seen one single time is discouraging people from congregating. I see a lot of crowding around one monitor, just like it's 2019 or something. We need someone who's going to break up the crowds because, again, we're all paying attention to what our job should be. It's really hard to do our job, but also be safe. So we do need someone who's going to like tap us on the shoulder and be like, hey guys, can you disperse, or can you wrap it up here? Or, hey, can we get a second or a third monitor so that 10 people aren't crowding around one monitor, not observing social distancing. Yeah. So I think that there needs to be an understanding. I would say that's pretty urgent. It's pretty urgent that the industry widespread needs an understanding of what this person's job even should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree that there's still a lot of discussion about that. I mean, it's certainly, you know, within the union, they're still trying to figure it out. I do think the separate COVID safety team for large shoots is kind of essential, right? So that you do have someone who's supervising to try to keep, you know, supervising their team, and also try to have enough authority to be able to say to crew members, because remember, it's a top-down situation on crew, right? The head boss is the first AD, and that's who everyone pays attention to. So when the COVID supervisor is a PA, they have to have a lot of like personal strength to be able to say, hey guys, like separate. And so then that's falling to the first AD, which that person is definitely going to have more authority, but they're also doing another job. All you're getting is a temperature check in the morning, and you're on your own for the rest of the day. And I find like that's the case with a lot of the smaller jobs, because a lot of us are being asked to do more than one job. Sometimes we're being asked to do 2 or 3. I say no to all that stuff now. It's just simply not worth it. When the COVID supervisor is supposed to be shooting the job, they're not paying attention to anything. And it's talk about performative and dangerous, because they're not taking care of themselves either. They may be wearing a mask, but that's not the only thing.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what we've been hearing is, you know, we need to figure out a consistency and something that's, you know, industry standard for this position, and also for, you know, the cleaning products and everything. And going back to what you were saying, Luce, like I've heard this too, is where some sets, you know, then they're like, okay, well, we'll just have 2 people on set and they'll do everything because that's less people and that's safer. That's not necessarily safer, right? If they then have to take on all the responsibilities of all those other jobs, and then they're touching even more things, you know. I think it's definitely, at least for Washington, we're still all trying to figure it out together, and like what is working and what is not. So yeah, I appreciate you guys letting us know like what's going on. What is your ideal safe set? What does that look like?
We're outside.
Yeah.
We're outside, and we have a base camp that is made up of pop-up tents instead of having a motorhome.
I have worked on multiple sets that it is outdoors. I feel like a lot of our smaller productions are trying to do that as much as possible. I think that, and then I have had the offer for a motorhome, and I said I'd prefer just a pop-up tent, and that I have somebody that is designated fire watch when I step away. The big thing, monitors. The set I was on with Luce recently, it was wonderful. They had a feed that we could look on our phones. So theoretically, and this is like old school, I used to have a Watchman TV that I could sit on set and be aware of what was going on, and I could be way away and not crowding in. That's, but on these small monitors, my phone, I can't see the detail that I need to see like I can on a full monitor. And having a bank of monitors so far away from set, they're like, oh, just go look over the shoulders of the production team that has a whole bank of monitors. Well, that's so far away from set, then they're yelling at me, why aren't you standing by? Why aren't you standing by? We need this reset every time. I'm just like, well, I can't watch from the next room and also be handy for you to get in and make this time effective and efficient for you.
I have the labor I need. You know, if I say that I actually need a third person, I kind of don't want that questioned. If you want someone that's only going to be on set, then I need a third person.
If you were to give a producer one piece of advice going forward, what would that be?
It's not business as usual, and budgets should reflect that. If your budget is business as usual, I see that as a red flag.
Totally.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good one, Meg.
Yeah.
Spicy.
If you're an employer and you're supposed to be providing PPE, please provide it. And budget and time. If you don't have the time to pull off this shoot, it shouldn't be done.
Yeah, I see a lot of producers who are supportive of safety standards and they want to be safe and they acknowledge that safety needs to happen, but it doesn't seem like it's, at least for commercials at least, or corporate things, it's not really, they're kind of shrugging when I confront them about something, or they kind of pass the buck to the agency or the client. So I think that as much as some of our producer friends are supportive of safety standards, it needs to come from higher up, because if the client or the agency isn't willing to pay for the set to be safe, it's never going to be safe. That producer can want to be as safe as they want to be, but if the money and the resources aren't provided to give us a safe set, it's never going to be a safe set.
I think what, kind of piggybacking on all of that, ask questions. This is a workshop. Please ask questions. Think about what you're asking us to do and the logic of it. And if it is, if it makes sense, because there's research on it, there's scientific information on it. We really need to be asking questions and following logic and researching, because we are having to stand up for ourselves and make sure that what we're being asked to do makes sense. We're all coming off of quarantine, and the most energetic people that I know look tired and dazed on set. We need to recognize that this is all taking a lot of emotional toll on everybody, and just saying be nice to everybody isn't going to hack it. I think that we need to recognize that it's all new processes, new habits that we're forming, and we're having to figure out how to do things. And so it's taking a lot, it's draining. It's taking a lot on us emotionally and physically. And so being aware of that, and that 14-hour day probably is not a good thing for anybody. By hour 6, we're forgetting half of what we need, and everybody's just worn out and unable to, perform at their highest rate. Since all of our work, hair, makeup, wardrobe, most of it is done not within the sight of a lot of people, maybe just kind of recognizing that there's a lot of work that's done prior, and that by the time we get to set, there still are some specific things. So maybe just kind of being a little gentler and more acknowledging of how our world works.
Yeah, understanding and empathy.
Yeah.
I think we all need that right now, on and off set.
Yeah. I think it's kind of rare that hair, makeup, and costume/wardrobe ever kind of gets to have this level of attention.
Oh,
so on one level, we are now able to really participate in the discussion more. We're often, at least certainly with hair and makeup, we're like the last piece of the puzzle. And that has created problems pre-COVID, when we're not brought in on the conversation, and we're like, stick them in a corner and see what happens. So at least we're having more conversations. And I think hair and makeup are certainly trying to figure out where they have more authority now, which is, that is good. And also it means like not accepting just like standard working conditions no more. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. And also it feels like FilmWorks has definitely put a little bit of focus on our departments in a new way, which is, it's nice. It's really nice.
Good. Yeah. I mean, we appreciate what all your departments do, and I know it's rough out there, so I'm glad we can just talk it out and make sure, hopefully we can get to a point where everyone feels good about this.
Cool.
Is the goal.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks,
Kendra.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.